Hey, what's going on, friends and family? My name is Skylent, and today I'm going to talk about V Rising, a brand new action RPG from developer and publisher Stunlock Studios, who is also famous, maybe infamous, for Battle Right. Now, this is going to be a survival ARPG. It's about building up a castle with your friends, and it's all about vampires. Definitely going to be gothic. It's going to be that dark fantasy setting that we're very, very used to in action RPGs, grindathons and stuff like that, but with the whole survival crafting aspect, PvP enabled, as well as actual action in the action RPG, I think we might be able to forgive the usual setting. But even then, at the same time, frankly, I'm just gonna be honest, I'm totally kind of like into vampires at the moment. That's like my cultural education for this spooky season. I'm watching like every vampire thing ever, and yeah, no, it's been pretty cool. But with that momentum, V Rising coming out of nowhere from this company, actually maybe it makes a little bit of sense. We'll go over the history of why I think this action combat is going to be really good from Stunlock Studios, as well as the potential for this game to be kind of decent and to have a really cool gameplay loop, looking at similar games. But overall, we're going to see what the game says it's going to be. We're going to theory craft what it could be, what it might not be, and you know, overall, I'm just going to give you my pre-impressions of this title, up and coming, planned release date to be announced though, V Rising. Okay, but first what we should do is just kind of look at the gameplay, the visuals, the fidelity. Everything looks really freaking good, I think. Yeah, Stunlock Studios, especially with their last game, actually brought forth like almost a AAA sort of vibe to their free-to-play battle right. Things felt pretty good, things looked pretty good, and I really loved the oomph, the pow, the ka-chow from the attacks and everything. So I'm going to show some gameplay of that, and you might actually notice, obviously, the camera angle, the action, the combats from that. So just in terms of a spectacle, I think that's, you know, to compare it to games like Path of Exile, or God, man, we just had a slew of other action RPGs, you know, kind of being festering on the Steam store that a lot of people kind of enjoyed, though they kind of range from mixed to positive reviews overall, not too viral or anything like that, nothing like Path of Exile. But looking and comparing to those games, I think V Rising is gonna look really good. I think it fits the aesthetic, it fits the theme. Overall, you know what, thumbs up. It's not too crazy, too original, but then again, it looks like, you know, people don't really play the cyberpunk action RPGs too often. People don't play, you know, the technology-based or the modern warfare style. People like Gothic, people like dark fantasy, you know, thanks to Diablo, and so we have another one. But this one's a little bit more Gothic, a little bit more vampiric, potentially, and I don't know, I really like the Halloween-y action RPGs myself. So, as much as I could complain, no, the game looks pretty good. I think so. I think we're all gonna agree they're gonna hit their demographic. But let's go ahead and talk about what we can see on the Steam page, the bullet point list of mechanics that we're going to have as well, because the gameplay isn't exactly, well, it's not very big. We literally just got our first sort of tease of gameplay, and the other thing mostly is just going to be cinematic. So excuse me for reusing footage a little bit with its pre-impressions, but what I can tell you is that there's going to be some pretty cool mechanics here. Fully conceptually, it's an open world, so it's a Gothic open world. That's why if you actually go to the bottom of the Steam page, it'll show a bunch of related games, and it's stuff like Valheim or Subnautica or like Rust, DayZ, Ark Survival Evolved. This is actually a survival action RPG with an open world. So yeah, that's pretty neat. Definitely going to be high fantasy. Now it doesn't just have vampires. It's going to have like trance and I don't know, maybe dragons and stuff like that. More of the Gothic kind of stuff. But yeah, dungeons, going to be diving it. But of course, we're also going to be hanging out in an open world that with friends. We could play friends. You could play, you know, you can hunt solo if you want. Pillage villages. Though that's going to be a big thing as well. We're going to be raiding and pillaging villages. So that's neat. If you didn't get your whole Viking fantasy out of Valheim, maybe a little bit with this one. Yeah. And of course, we're going to have specific vampire mechanics, like the raiding of villages. We might have certain survival aspects that are related to being a vampire, such as you can't really be in sunlight. This is something that I got to explore a little bit with the World of Warcraft expansion recently. I did choose the vampire faction, and that was kind of neat. I liked the fantasy of that, and I actually did like role-playing that. Sort of sparked, again, that interest that I have right now of vampires, the mythology and everything. And just as a side note to rant, I feel like the whole fantasy of vampirism is really a statement on classism and also the power fantasy of that. We're gonna live that, but also, no, we're probably gonna need blood. We're probably gonna need certain resources, of course, building our castles and stuff like that. Very specific survival vampirism aspects, which I think if you guys played Oblivion or Skyrim, maybe you kind of know the vibe. Yeah, we're also, yeah, look out for the light. Mostly it's going to be played at night. And I'm gonna be honest, I love nighttime. And anytime there's stuff that happening at night in games, especially action RPGs or games like RuneScape, I love the whole Halloween-y feel. I'm about that. It's being about Halloween. Yeah, we're gonna be living in a castle. We're building a castle. You know, maybe in Valheim you're making huts. Maybe in Minecraft you're building towers. Sure, but no, in this game it's full Gothic castles. Yeah. That's what we're gonna do. And there's probably gonna be dark alchemy and stuff like that. The screens and the shots and the footage show a lot of weird, sciencey, kind of Frankenstein-y stuff. Oh, by the way, I just purchased Frankenstein. Yeah, I'm really excited to read that book. And I'm going all into the classic horror stuff. So I'm totally, you know, vibing with this. I'm hyping it up. But I do also like that they say, as a bullet point, they say compete or cooperate. Normally, these kind of games really half-ass PvP, or they half-ass the PvE, and it's, you know, battle, right? But so this game is apparently going to be able to play with friends. You can travel alone if you want to, explore the world with friends, fighting side by side with other vampires. Yeah, so that's gonna be cool. You can also raid other players' castles specifically, and then they say play diplomat in the game of blood, power, and betrayal. So we're gonna see, maybe they're gonna have some sort of soft MMO features or guild features, something like that. Sounds really exciting. I think the last time I've been able to play something like that was, man, this no-name free-to-play called The Quest for Epic Loot, where you raided people's castles. Yeah, you basically don't do that. So this is pretty interesting. So yeah, no, I really can't even conceive of what this will actually, the gameplay loop will be like, but I'm really excited for this sort of, if we can like invade other people, dude, if this gets Soulsian, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, this could be cool. And finally, yeah, for the last bullet point, they do talk about being a vampire and mastering vampiric abilities. So for me, whenever I play games, like if we go back to World of Warcraft, I am playing a Death Knight, you know, role-playing as a vampire, blood elf, absolutely, going ham with it. And I had so much fun with that for the very limited amount of time that lasted for the roleplay and the actual goodness of that game. Rest in peace. But no, I do want to play a game where I get to roleplay as a vampire and have that. And in fact, I really only recently got that from Elder Scrolls Online. I actually play as a vampiric healer in that game. Fire forget a little bit. You know, I do damage to myself to heal my teammates and heal over time with blood magic and, you know, lifesteal and stuff. That's been pretty fun. And I do appreciate that. I appreciate when you get to do vampiric stuff. Whenever I play any sort of game like League of Legends, I'll play what's called the fantasy is the Drain Tank, where you actually heal from doing damage. So that's hopefully something I can do in this game, because it says there's going to be a whole arsenal of unholy abilities, and hopefully they're going to really focus on those kind of fantasies. I'm sure it's going to be all of the usual magic that we've seen, you know, ranging from Castlevania style stuff of floating weapons and relics and things like that, all the way to, you know, yeah, obviously Death Knight is stuff. And hopefully it's not specifically a particular type of vampire, and hopefully we'll have transformation style vampirism abilities. Hopefully we'll have summoning, you know, basically all mechanically what we're used to in other action RPGs. And we can clearly see from the gameplay, you got spin to wins, you got leaps, and then I actually, from that, you know, what we can see, it looks like we're gonna have a decent variety of abilities. I'm just hoping. But it does say we are going to have customizations of range weapons, melee, and of course powerful spell kits. But just looking from the gameplay, you can clearly see that it's going to be sort of taking from the framework that they built from Battle Right, which means WASD controls. If that wasn't clear, sorry for not saying that immediately, because a lot of people get turned off from these games if they're point and click only. This is a WASD action RPG, which generally means a little bit more action based, but even more so, it is hyper focused on skill shots. Clearly you can see like lots of different big bombastic abilities and a lot of mobility abilities. And I wouldn't doubt if they just take kind of like the codes, copy and paste, and just kind of recolor them to work with this game. And if they did that, that's totally fine. In fact, a lot of the characters that I played in Battle Right, honestly, I just wanted to play them in like a horde wave mode or as an action RPG, and I'm really surprised that they didn't just turn Battle Right into an action RPG, but I guess instead they're like, no, we're gonna go with the vampire thing, and you know what? I'm on board for it. At first I was like a little, generic action RPG, here we go, but actually, now that I see it, open world survival action RPG where you build castles, invade other people's castles, you know, it's actually action packed. I don't know, man, that could be pretty cool. So yeah, we don't know too much information about this game just yet, but they do actually have it self-tagged as online PvP, online co-op, and as an MMO. So I'm thinking, you know, worst case scenario, this actually might be an open world game where people have sort of like a permeable persistence. So even if it's not like 40 player raids or an actual true full MMO, it might be an MMO light, which is something maybe like Sea of Thieves or Fallout 76, or maybe really most survival games, where there is like a persistent open world sections and stuff like that, and then maybe you might have instances and things that you can invite friends to, or maybe dynamically make friends. I would really like to see a little bit more about this game, but actually just some of the concepts they have are really out there. Then again, Battle Right was pretty a specific and unique game that had a little bit of soft virality for a little bit and then disappeared. So is this going to be the same with V Rising, or is this going to be the game that really sticks? You know, is this a game that we can sink our teeth into, haha, vampire jokes, for a while? I hope so. Regardless, I'm going to play it, I'm going to check it out, I'm very interested in it, and I think Stunlock Studios, overall, they're not going to make a bad game. It's not going to be a bad game, but as a games as a service, which this clearly is, I'm a little, you know, on the fence there about if I can give my seal of approval. But then again, I did have fun with Battle Right. So what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Hope we can all have fun and keep that hype alive. Like, subscribe, blah, 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 YouTube, okay, blah, blah, blah. Outro out. That's it. Much love. See you in the next one.